Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Sophie Devonshire, and I'm here to welcome you all to our 8th Wavelength Inspire session of 2024. In this session, Amanda's going to be encouraging all of us to think about the diversity of our networks of contacts. Are they all in our own industry or sector? Do we have access to a powerful external network of people to help advise, connect and support us? All great questions for us to consider together, and we'll have a fantastic questions and answers section today with Amanda. So please do get ready, everybody, for your questions for her. This is a brilliant opportunity to ask whatever is on your mind or what you need to know. And remember, when you ask questions, you'll help others and help the conversation by getting involved. So please, think about your questions, do put them in chat and put your virtual hand up and we'll invite you on screen to chat directly with Amanda.
I'm Amanda Scott and I've been doing this work now for many years. If I was to anticipate something, it is that despite your commitment to come to this session today, that you didn't go to bed last night worrying about your network. We go to bed at night worrying about much more pressing, much more immediate issues. And yet what we've discovered in our research and looking at the research of others in this area is that when it comes to solving big problems, making complex decisions, or finding opportunities, the people that we surround ourselves with have a strong influence on that outcome. That's your network, and that's what we're going to be spending the next 90 minutes exploring today. The first person I'd like to introduce you to is Belinda, and Belinda I worked with a couple of years ago. She was a finance and data professional who used technology to develop solutions to both simplify and standardize financial reporting for her clients in her investment bank. And when she came to us to explore her network, she was slightly confused because in a kind of leadership 360, what the feedback was is, yes, you are somebody who has delivered many successful projects for us. You are somebody who always puts your client at the center of what you do. You are somebody who successfully partners across the business when you're thinking about re-engineering new processes or designing new solutions. And really importantly, you are somebody who has the courage to hold yourself accountable for the decisions that you make. And then there was the other part of the 360 from her team and the people that worked around her. And they were questioning the degree to which she was able to continue to inspire, to motivate, to connect them to new ways of thinking, to feel like they were coming on the journey with her. And this was the point at which we engaged with her. She was thinking, if I'm meant to inspire my team, where do I draw on for the inspiration myself? The second story, I think I'd just like to share with you, somebody slightly different in a different situation. So Charlie was somebody who, when it came to appointing the first head of DE&I in her training and education organization, her name was on everybody's lips. It didn't surprise anybody when she stepped into the role. But what Charlie realized was, after a month in the new role, her diary was completely full of colleagues and stakeholders eager to talk to her about their expectations about her new responsibilities, to share the myriad of different initiatives at different stages of development that were taking place around the organization. What Charlie realized was that if she was actually to take control of this new job, to think strategically and sustainably about what DEI might mean in action in her organization, she needed to start to weed through all those people and relationships. And the key thing she needed to do was to take charge of her diary and prioritize the relationships with the people that were really going to help her succeed. So in both of those cases, when we worked with Charlie and Belinda, the first thing that we did was ask them a very simple question. And if you've got a piece of paper or a piece of technology, whatever you like to kind of sketch or write on, I'd really encourage you to take a pen out and give yourself a minute to write down your response to this question. Who helps you succeed in your job and in your... So I'm going to share with you now a bit more about the details of what goes into a personal boardroom But I'd really like to start with just a very, very simple question for you. Again, just take maybe 30 seconds, put some ideas into the chat. But if you were to think about what are all the possible benefits that people in your network could bring you, what sort of things do you think about? Okay, so I'm imagining, as is often the case, that you will have written down a number of the important seats in your personal boardroom already. You might have expressed them slightly differently to us because we take the idea of resources and we've turned them into roles that people play as a way to help you identify if somebody was doing this for me, what would I see them doing? And that might help you to think about who that person is and what kind of conversation you could have with them in order to mobilize them on your behalf. So we've divided the personal boardroom really into 3 core areas. We think about what we call the information roles, and these are all the people that essentially add to the sum of what you know about the world and your breadth of vision. You know, in essence, somebody said to me, it sort of makes you more worldly. So we'll think about what specific roles go into that information part of your personal boardroom. And then we have really the engine of what makes things happen for you. These are the catalysts that help you to get the decisions made that you need, to help you to find the people that you need to meet, to access the resources, and essentially to influence the people around you. We call these the power roles, and we'll talk about 4 core power roles. And you can see, well, who have I got now from that list of people that I wrote down at the beginning? Or possibly where might I have some gaps? And then the third area, which again I think intuitively you'll really understand, which is that we're all essentially a work in progress. We're growing and developing. Our world and our work is growing and developing around us. And what we really need is to be able to touch base with people that can give us the courage, the resilience, the feedback and the challenge to kind of help us grow and develop. So essentially, we're going to give you a couple of minutes just to see if you can sketch out that map. Just think about those 12 roles and the people that give you those benefits right now, that help you to succeed, while we just change over and move into sitting down and listening to your questions. So I'm just going to pop the roles back up so you've got them in front of you. And I think actually Sarah will also pop a PDF into the chat, which you can print out for later, which will give you a nice description of each of the roles.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Amanda. I thought that was fascinating. You should have seen me in the back taking lots of notes on how this all fits together. We've got some questions coming through from everybody. Please do put any questions in chat. Come and talk to Amanda. Daft questions, brilliant questions, whatever you've got, let's use this time to pick the brains of all of Amanda's experience in this. I want to ask, first of all, though, Amanda, listening to all this, I know the theory of this. I've talked about this with lots of people. I know how hard people find it to be doing it in reality. So why, for you, did you write this book and get involved in this? Why is building a personal boardroom more than a nice to have? Why do you think it's a must have right now?
It's interesting. So I've probably changed career about 3 times, and probably about every 10 years when I think about it. So I worked in advertising for 10 years, and then I moved into agenting, and then I moved into this talent development career work. And at each stage, what I recognised was that I couldn't have done it unless I had started to be quite intentional about building a different type of network. I'm not saying that I got it right at all, but I was always interested in the opportunities that came out of what often felt like really quite small conversations with people. And when I met up with Zella, I had been doing a lot of work with companies that were restructuring. And what I noticed was that the people that were moving fast in their careers post the restructuring were people that had a wide range of relationships. And I really felt for the people that actually had spent maybe 25, 30 years building really fantastic internal networks, and how once that job changed, the value of that network in terms of moving yourself on really became quite reduced. And at that stage, I probably had quite general information about, well, you should go to conferences, you should meet people. And I just found that people weren't really understandably very responsive to that. So when I met up with Zella and she started to show me what networks, how they're built. I suppose it's a bit more the DNA of networks. I think between us, we both felt that actually there should be some rules of thumb that actually you can share with anybody. So anybody listening today can bring this to their team next week and you can sketch it out in any way you like. But that actually it's just a very handy way to start to take what can be quite a sort of vague and sort of nebulous thing. It's quite hard to think about all the different relationships that you have in your life and actually just be quite tactical, be quite strategic about concentrating on a small number in order to either move your career on or to focus on a project at work that you want to deliver or to think about maybe how you want to kind of lead and develop your team. So it's the network you need to kind of make things happen.
What happens if you've got a gap in your network? So you can immediately see now there's something there. How best do you go about filling it? Because you don't know who you don't know. And I would add to that, do you find people are saying, I want you to be in my personal boardroom? They're using that or they're doing it more discreetly. So how do we fill the gap?
Well, I think it'd be pretty unusual, Simon, not to find you have a gap, frankly, because in a way we've sort of exploded the different types of roles and we've got you to think in a way that you mightn't have thought about specifically before. So it's very, very likely that that you might find that you don't have everybody for all the roles. And sometimes what people will also say is that actually it's a small number of people and they play all of the roles, and is that a problem? So I think without being kind of too sort of overly generalised about it, the first thing I would do if you've got a gap is to think about whether there is somebody you know who could play that for you if you invited them to do it. So it's the difference in a way between saying, yep, that person I talk to kind of once a month, we always have really insightful conversations and I come away and so I really know they are an inspirer to me, versus somebody that you have known. We talk about kind of dormant ties, which is a sort of not very interesting way of articulating and describing people that we have known in the past that we might have lost touch with. And again, the research would say that actually going back to people that you might have worked with in the past is a much easier thing to do than starting from scratch and building out a completely new relationship, simply because there's a trust already established. If you work together, you got to know each other. But it may well be that they went off and did something different or something in your kind of life changed and you haven't been in touch with them for a while. But what they bring actually is a really interesting contribution back into your network based on the fact that the trust is there, but there's a real point of difference. They're now doing something different. So rather than thinking, oh my goodness, what Amanda's saying is I've got to go out and meet a whole load of new people, I think if you're anywhere sort of mid-career and you've already got, a long tail of relationships that you've built, I would look back and see, well, who have I not spoken to? And is that somebody I could invite back into my world?
I always feel quite audacious when I've actually asked some people for help, because I know it's a barrier that I would always rather help, and asking for help definitely feels uncomfortable for me, but it feels like ticking something off when I've done it, and I feel good to do it. I mean, coming through on this, some people, there's just no issues, and so they've got that, which is brilliant. Others are saying, to be comfortable asking for help because you don't know what you don't know. And I think there's a comfort in that. If you never ask for help, you'll never move forward, or it'll take a lot longer to get where you need to be. I know in the chat earlier, Amanda, lots of people were talking about one of the benefits of a great network is actually honesty. So people who are not involved in what you're doing, who aren't family or team, can give you an honest perspective. So actually, you're asking for something brave sometimes when you ask for help because you'll get some honesty back. And people, very comfortable people in the chat saying never regret asking for help, although yes, brave. But interesting insight. Asking for help can feel like you failed. So there's probably a big mindset piece for all of us in reminding ourselves that the Steve Jobs of this world, the smartest people of this world, can't do it alone, right? If it's a business-related project, fine. So again, we go back to are you doing it for someone else or for something else versus you? But awkward, vulnerable, like I'm taking precious time from that busy individual for a self-serving purpose if it's to help development. There are lots of people, though, who are congenitally helpful, who just, that's what they really enjoy, is feeling like they're giving back and helping people and giving advice. So I guess it's who you're asking, right? We are sadly running out of time. I could certainly talk about this all day. So thank you so much, Amanda, for what I thought was a fantastic Inspire session today. Really interested to hear your feedback, everybody listening today. I hope you feel as energised and inspired as I do. And I think we've got some very practical tools that we can take away, adopt in our daily lives, and propel us all forward to create some new and powerful networks. If you, like me, believe in books, find them useful and a way of doing this, I've actually worked my way through Zella and Amanda's book here. I think it's fantastic. There's advice, there's stories, there's visualisations, a bit more if you want to go into a deeper dive. Top tip, you can either do like me and get a hard copy, because then you can write all your notes in it, or you can get it at the moment, which is free on Kindle. Absolute bargain. So before you get out there, reading the book, networking your way, building up this fantastic boardroom, friends and people you can help and who can help you, some quick reminders. So firstly, if you want to share some reflections or thoughts from today's session, really helpful for the Wavelength Inspire team, for Amanda, we'd love to hear from you. And if you want to keep the discussion going amongst each of you, don't forget about that private Wavelength Inspire LinkedIn group. Really helpful if you're looking for people to fill your personal boardroom roles. Let's ask each other for help. So love to hear what you thought of this session or any past or future sessions for Wavelength Inspire. Really, really good to hear from you. And do not miss that September session, going inside culture, customer service excellence, talking to Pano Christou, who's the CEO of Pret A Manger. It's going to be a really good one. And in October, we're also going to be hearing from another incredible CEO, Jesper Brodin of IKEA, fascinating man. He's going to talk about sustainability as the new business model, and it's at the heart of everything that IKEA does at the moment, with an ambition to enable 1 billion people to live a better everyday life within the limits of the planet by 2030. Going to be a really good one. So don't miss any of our coming sessions. Keep in touch with what's coming up on the Inspire portal. A final thank you to you all for joining today, to Amanda for an excellent session, and I look forward to next time. Thank you.